Hey everyone, you're listening to the Visually Stunning Movie Podcast, the place to come if you just want to listen to some guys BS about movies the way you BS about movies, only slightly more intelligently, we hope. Be sure to visit our website at vsmoviepodcast.com. Catch us on Facebook, Twitter, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Apple News, Google Play, Stitcher, basically any place you want to listen to us, you can hear us. And remember, if you like what you hear, don't forget to share us with your friends. Now, let's get on with the show.
Hey everyone, this is Mark. Welcome back to the Visually Stunning Movie Podcast. That's Ryan. Hi, Ryan.
Hey.
So we are going to talk about next week's quasi-large release, but it's still a smaller movie. For all you horror fans out there, Hereditary showed at Sundance this year, which you got to see.
Yeah.
And then we saw it again last night. You saw it again last night. I saw it for the first time last night. Why don't you give us a quick overview?
Grandmother dies. At funeral, mother mentions how she has strange rituals, very private woman. And then we kind of see how those strange rituals play out in the family after she's died. We've got a little girl who antisocial, who likes to build toys out of just about anything. You got a teenage older brother who is kind of your typical teen, except for he smokes about twice as much pot as your typical teen, but only twice as much.
Only twice as much.
Mom and dad. Mom is an artist who makes miniature dioramas that are highly detailed and often very personal. I'm not, did they ever say what dad does? I don't even know what dad does. Dad he stands around looking worried a lot.
I think he probably just handles the business end of the mother, Toni Collette, the great Toni Collette.
Yes, fantastic.
But she does showings and sells the miniatures to businesses for them to display. So it's not a hobby.
No. She's a full-fledged. They have a very nice house. Nice house.
So it wouldn't surprise me if he just wasn't like the business guy that handled all the deadlines and the payments and everything else for that. So, but he's present, but we don't really know what he does except be present.
He's got an office.
Yes, he does.
In the house.
So it's not a slasher horror movie.
No.
It is a thriller. More than anything.
Probably, yes. Not really a ghost story, but not really not a ghost story.
Yeah, that's sure. I'll jump in and as I said last night, I have 3 sound bites that I'll use tonight. And the first one is when it was over, my first thought was, what the fuck did I just watch? But in a good way. Because it's a mind bender. It'll mess with you through the basically the entirety of the film. Slowly at first and faster and more ridiculously as we go along. What was your gut reaction at Sundance?
Sundance? Oh, well, I mean, it was like a early morning screening, I think, at the Egyptian. I'm trying to remember. Anyway, it was early. I remember that. I was pretty excited by it, though. I like out-of-the-box sort of horror films, and this is definitely one of those. And so I was pretty, obviously I liked it enough that I wanted to go see it again. There was one effect that they hadn't finished that they did redo for this version. Otherwise, I think it's the same film that I saw then. And it's still kind of... There's certain things that happen in the film that are still shocking, even knowing they're coming.
Yeah.
It's nothing in this film is halfway, really. If they're going to do something, they're going to go all the way in. If it's going to be grotesque, it's going to be really grotesque. If it's going to be bizarre, they're going to go, super bizarre, I guess. But I like it. I think that the horror genre tends to be a little too formulaic, and while they're perfectly great horror films that follow a formula, I appreciate films that step outside of that.
Yeah, it definitely goes from whacked to, they do commit to whatever they're doing. You're right on that. You're spot on that. They don't go halfway on anything, and it's got a couple disturbing scenes in here that I haven't seen that disturbing. And I'm not talking chainsaw to the chest disturbing.
No, but well, but not far off, really. I mean, it's.
But it's not just a gross factor.
No. It's, well, one might be one's crazy, weird, gross factor, but there's also one that's very just. When you see the film, there's a moment that comes before the middle that will make you gasp.
Yes.
And it will make you gasp, even if you've already seen it. It's just that kind of moment.
Yeah, it was pretty intense. The script is solid all the way through, although you can see influences of the horror that has come before.
Yeah.
The acting is really rock solid.
Yeah,
all the way
great.
through, which is nice. Toni Collette's good. Gabriel Byrne, uncharacteristically subdued.
Yeah, but
very
good.
But very good. So it's, I mean, he doesn't. There's like one scene where he raises his voice, and it was like odd in this film. And the son, Peter, I kept trying to figure out where I'd seen him before. And this morning, I think I figured it out. He was in Patriots Day.
Yeah.
He was Dzhokhar Tsarnaev.
Yeah, he was one of the brothers.
One of the bombers, yeah. So the marathon bombers. So I was like, oh yeah. And
he's also in the last Jumanji, but it's like a.
Oh, that's right.
He's the younger version of one of them.
He's the non-rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Millie Shapiro plays the daughter.
Who
go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say who's phenomenal, and she's. Actually, that's the first thing I looked up when I walked out of Sundance. Now that I think about it, was who in the world is this actress? And this is basically her first film, but she has been on Broadway. She's been doing a bunch of stuff on Broadway. She was in Matilda and that sort of thing. So she's Millie Shapiro is one of those actresses that she has a very unique look that plays into this film fantastically. Is that a word?
It is.
But okay. So she's basically, I mean, right now, if you're looking for a young actor, and it's always kind of been this way, go to Broadway and find, one that can sing and dance and do everything, and then put them in the horror film and make them extra freaky. But she's done, various musicals and whatnot. So,
and this is not a musical.
Talented. No. Well, no. This is not. This is probably outside of her comfort zone. This was probably a stretch, and this is kind of an unusual role to take on for your first role. It's definitely not your typical 13-year-old kid.
But to be fair, she did have Toni Collette to fall back on, who's no stranger to Broadway.
Yeah,
or the stage and the horror quote unquote thriller genre.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, Toni Collette's done it all. So,
yeah. So, so she had she had someone to kind of watch out for her. I'm sure Toni Collette did. Yeah. It. The second thing I want to say, but it's kind of a spoiler. I don't want to use it. So I'll use the third thing that I thought last night is that I said if you remember Mother with Jennifer Lawrence. If Mother had a more conventional plot, it would be this movie. They're not the same movie. Don't think that that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying, but you come out of it with that same brain ache. But I think this is better. I
think that Mother's a more abusive movie. I think there is elements of abuse in this film, but it's not taken to the level that Mother did. But it is centered, on an artist and the life of people around them, and the I guess madness that comes with being a creative genius, the selfishness that comes with that as well.
Yeah, and yeah, wow. But I like I said, I thought I thought I liked Mother, but I couldn't have told you why. I did like this one, and I think it's just because there's more to hold on to in this film than there is in Mother.
Well, I don't think it's a string of. I mean, there's some symbolism in this, but it's not so crammed. I mean, it doesn't feel like it's really pulling any punches for you. It's pretty. I don't want to say obvious because it's not obvious, but the things that happen are set up, and the things that there are little clues along the way, and some surprises. And to me, Mother felt like it was trying to say too much, like it had so many layers that it overcomplicated things. Whereas this one, it's a fairly simple movie, really.
Yeah, it really it has one point or one plot line to follow.
Yeah.
And it's clear, whereas Mother, there's so many things it could be that it's never clear where you're supposed to be. And I think
yeah, and I mean this is more focused, I think. Well, I don't know that Mother wasn't focused, but Mother was just doing so much, and I think that's one of the issues that a lot of people had with Mother was the fact that it couldn't decide how to be just one or two things. It had to be like 6 or 7, or the metaphors kept going layer upon layer, and well, that can be interesting. It was a hard film to watch because it was so brutal, and this film at times is hard to watch, I guess, in the same sense, but it's not. I don't know. It feels more real, I guess. It feels more grounded. It doesn't get as crazy. It definitely has its crazy moments, but they don't feel as extreme, I guess, as Mother did.
Right, and it's also thematically has a lot of the same feel as It Comes at Night.
Yeah, which was also a studio. A24 put that out, and they're putting this out. And there is a certain aesthetic. It's that low budget art house horror. That's but yeah, if you saw It Comes at Night and you hated it, I don't know that you're going to like this film, because it isn't exactly a fast moving film. It's never particularly boring. It's always fairly, it's always interesting. So everything that happens adds up to something, and so you don't feel like you've wasted any time. I guess there's no fat to speak of, really. But yeah, if you're looking for a traditional horror where there's a bunch of gore, you're gonna have few and far between on this. But I think there's suspense and there's wonder and there's just kind of that sense of you're walking into a world that isn't exactly real, but maybe it could be. Maybe there's, that maybe if like I like to tell people that, if the world was really as interesting as movies made it out to be, it'd be, our lives would be, these crazy things. But
we wouldn't need movies.
Yeah, well, yeah, we wouldn't need movies. We wouldn't need anything, because our lives would be filled with leprechauns and witches and other things. But not that there's leprechauns in this movie.
No.
Yeah, and I think the fact that, I mean, it was filmed in Utah, so seeing up at Sundance, probably. I think it was filmed. I don't know exactly where up there, but it was like walking out of the theater and you were still sort of in the neighborhood of where this film was shot. It felt, surprisingly solid. I don't know how to put it. There was just a different sense, because typically when you walk out of a movie and you're like, okay, that was New Mexico playing whatever, right. Or it doesn't. There's a sense of disbelief that you have to suspend or so whatever. But with this one, it felt like, yeah, maybe this could be happening 3 blocks away from Main Street in Park City.
Yeah, it's very, very. I bet that was a really unique experience. Kind of like watching Wind River.
But with Wind River though, it's pretending to be Wyoming,
yeah.
Which is whereas this film it doesn't really say, hey, we're here, or it doesn't really ever give you a location. In fact, that's kind of it's this kind of otherworldly place that it feels familiar, but everything's very it's strange because they feel like they're disconnected from the world. Where they live, it's very remote, and there's a distance between the houses that's remote. But there is also a city that's fairly close.
Yep.
So, but they are kind of out on a little island.
Yeah, which in a film like this, it only adds to the creep factor. It is creepy. If you like that vibe in your film, you pretty much get this from start to finish.
Yeah, I mean, it's I guess really. Yeah, it's artsy, but not to the extent that I think people who like horror films generally of all sorts of shades and colors will enjoy it. There will be some people who probably do find it slow, just because it is that kind of unwinding, slow burning sort of.
It's an atmospheric thriller.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So. But
oozing atmosphere, right?
Oozing atmosphere, but in a good way.
Right.
I'll explain that joke to everyone later. But no, so it's not going to win the box. It's not going to win any box office any week, ever, much less the one it's in. But I could see, it's kind of sad that it didn't come out more toward the fall, or even in like late November.
This is the same. It's coming out the same week as It Comes at Night came out last year, and I think what it's going to do is it's going to kind of hang out for a month or two, or at least that's the hope.
Yeah,
that it kind of lingers in the background. It Comes at Night ended up doing pretty good money. It actually had a really decent opening weekend, and it'll be interesting to see how this does do. I think that this one is probably they've been a little more honest with the advertising on this. It Comes at Night, they kind of pushed it as a straight up horror film, which wasn't exactly what it was.
Right. No, it wasn't close.
Which I was fine with, but it wasn't what was advertised. So I think with this one, they're being a little more honest. This is a creepy film, and you got. Kids are always great in horror movies because it's the vulnerability, but it's also because we can connect with, we were them to a great extent. So
yeah, it preys on all the primal fears.
Sure, yeah, and stupid teenager. There's the stupid teenager stuff in there, and I think most of us are probably stupid teenagers, and then some of us are probably flawed adults, flawed parents, and I mean, there's the people feel real in this. Although they're real, but a step beyond. When their issues are magnified a little bit more than they might be otherwise. But I love character-driven horror films that still deliver some scares and some creepiness.
Yeah, and this one does. And on a scale of 10, where are you at?
I'm probably an 8. I just, thereabout. Partially because it's the originality of it is something I really, like I said, in a horror genre. If you can do something that feels, well, not entirely new but different, that goes a long way with me. But, well, as long as the film's good as well, that goes a long way as well. And this one's good. It's good. It's different. It isn't A Quiet Place, but it isn't far removed really from that either. Family drama, So
yeah, I'm like a 7, 8 right in there. The end got a little wonky, and I don't mean not in a I don't get it. It gets wonky, and I just thought maybe that it was just a little rougher maybe than I would have liked. That doesn't make it bad, but I just wish maybe they'd have tweaked that ending just a little bit, and for me cleaned it up a little bit. But other than that, no, there's not a lot to complain about here at all. And like I said, people I saw somewhere they're talking Toni Collette's going to be in the conversation come award season, and I'm like, for a horror / thriller. It's like, I don't know what the rest of the year looks like, Best Actress wise, but I'm like, that's a reach for Hollywood.
It might be, but because it's A24, who were the studio behind Moonlight, they were the studio behind Lady Bird. They've had they're kind of it's probably not they're the indie studio of choice right now, that they know how to push their characters, or they push the if she were to get, it wouldn't shock me if she got nominated, and I could see them doing a really good run for it. They've kind of got a way of saying, hey, check out these kind of off-kilter dramas and horror movies and things, and a lot of critics are drawn to that, and at the same time there are a lot of people who hate everything that A24 does, but
I love that we're so unbiased.
Yeah, well, I don't like everything they do. I like a lot of stuff that they do, though. A lot of stuff they do excites me. There's a movie called Eighth Grade that was also at Sundance that's theirs, that is kind of the Lady Bird, but without the kind of weirdness. It's very, very straightforward, coming of age, teen drama that's very good, that everyone should put on the radar. Great young actress in that one as well. But I like a lot of their aesthetic. They've done movies that I've hated or that I rolled my eyes at as well. But
right.
At least it's the sort of thing that when they don't go halfway. It's the same as this film does, or at least the ones that they really end up pushing don't. Some of the stuff gets direct to video, and it's not nearly as exciting. but everybody's got that stuff.
Yeah. I've been reviewing some of that in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff.
And some of this, I mean, look, sometimes direct-to-video stuff is just, they just haven't found that right person to believe in it. So it's not necessarily always going to be, I mean, when you think back, in particular when it comes to horror films, a lot of the horror films that eventually evolved into being classics were ones that no studio would touch, and they kind of had to build up their own word of mouth following, and they eventually made it to your city, or you had to wait for the VHS, or even worse, you had to dig in the back of Fangoria or whatever, and order these movies from various people back in the day before the internet. Anyway, so I mean, direct to video isn't necessarily an absolute curse.
No. So all right, so we're both going to recommend it if you're a fan of the genre.
Yeah.
This movie's not for everyone, but if you're a fan of the genre, see it.
Yeah, I can only imagine that some parents are going to watch it and start kind of questioning their parental abilities until certain moments, and then they'll say, "No, we're okay."
I am totally the best mom in the world. Yeah,
but it's to me, it comes back to the characters, the performance. The performances and the script, and it's all there. So, and I believe this is the director's first full length. I know he's done some comedic shorts. What is his name? Ari. Do you have it right in front of you? Ari Aster. Ari Aster.
Yeah.
So that's exciting to me too. Is that he's a new director that I don't know, and he did a nice film, and so you put him on the radar and see if you can follow it up.
Yep. So there you go. That's next week's new release.
Yeah.
This week there's a film opening called Upgrade that I just went and saw, and I have told Ryan he needs to go see it.
Yeah, we'll see if I can get there.
Yeah, and if he can, we'll do that one, and I won't go any farther than that. But next week, the next few weeks, there's like these good smaller movies coming out.
Well, we have Ocean's 8 as well coming up here, which I'm excited for. So.
I hope I didn't ruin it on Twitter when I said here's how it's going to turn out, and I went blah, and I hope I'm not right, because I would hate to think that I called it. Actually,
early reviews have been strong. So
well, they might be good, but I called the plot.
Oh well,
so so hopefully I didn't actually call the plot, because that would be hilarious and sad at the same time. But till next time, I'm Mark. That's Ryan. Bye, Ryan.
See you guys.
And we will see you all around.